tell you about my family, but also some things about me as a performing arts teacher. But first, I want to let you know how my family inspires me. My son, as a toddler, was the first thing that really has inspired me. He had this aura about him where he was able to just do things. There we go. Service in my family has been something that I've done my entire life. My son, he had started doing service as an 18-month-old, and I'll tell you about that a little later. But he's always had service kind of ingrained in him. He was a very shy and introverted child. So the story starts back in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit in the southeastern United States. I'll keep hitting the wrong button. Hurricane Katrina was one of the largest hurricanes to hit in the United States at that time. It came across where I live, which is over in Georgia, hit Florida, hit Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. But at the time that it came through, there were 1,400 fatalities, and thousands of people were left homeless because everything flooded. You can see here, cars, houses, everything was just totally a disaster. This is the New Orleans Superdome, where they had to house thousands of people. We're watching these images on the news, and it was just so overwhelming. But my son didn't see that. He saw a little boy getting off a school bus, and he was with his mother. They were unloading at a shelter in our hometown, and he noticed that the little boy had nothing. He gets off the school bus and he had nothing in his hands. He's holding his mother's hand, and he's crying. And he turned to us and he said, "Why doesn't he have anything, Mom?" So we explained to him about the devastation and how he had lost his home and how he had to get on this bus and ride many, many hours to come to Atlanta from Louisiana so that he could be in a safe place. And so he turns to us with just that clarity of an innocent child and said, "Can we buy him a toy?" We said, "Sure, we can go buy him a toy." So we got in the car, we went to the store, we let him go, and the first thing he did was he went to the car aisle because our child had nothing more made him happy than this. VW cars. These are some of my child's cars. We keep them and we treasure them. And he went and he found a blue Volkswagen VW Beetle. And that's the toy he wanted to give that little boy. We said, "Sure." We also bought some t-shirts and some socks to give to the refugees that were there. We get in the car and we start heading our way over to the Georgia Tech basketball arena, which is where that shelter was. We pulled into the parking lot and we were stopped by the security guard. The security guard was like, "Can't be here." And I hear my son roll down his window and he starts explaining to the security guard, "I have to give this man, this little boy, the toy." And the security guard looks at us like, "What?" He says, "That little boy that got off the bus, I have to give him a toy." The security guard looks at us again and he says, "Park right here, ma'am." And we parked in the Red Cross volunteer parking space right there in front of the arena. So we get out, we go inside, and our little son, this introverted little child, was shocking us. He walks up to the first Red Cross volunteer that he sees, and he says, "I need to go find that little boy who needs this toy." And she was quite shocked. She looks at us, we just shrug. She says, "Well, I can't let you go back in the back," and she's talking to us. And she says, "Because the privacy and the refugees in the back, and we just can't let you go." And he says, "But that little boy, he had nothing. I have to give him this toy." And she said to him, "Will you go back there with me without your moms?" And he nodded and he looked at us and we were like, "It's okay." So he goes back there with her, holding her hand. few minutes later, he came back. He says, okay, we can go. I gave the little boy his toy. The volunteer looked at us and she said, that was almost magical. That little boy smiled as soon as he put that toy in his hand. And I looked at the mother and she had tears in her eyes. And she said that is the first time her son had smiled in days. As we walked out to our car, our son crawls in, buckles up, and he says, I think we need to go get more toys because there were lots of kids there with nothing, Mom. Can we do that again tomorrow? Our son didn't see a problem that was not fixable. He saw people that were in need of joy. Children who were in need of joy. The power of pay it forward. That's what he was doing and he didn't even realize it. Pay it forward is when we do something for someone just because. We give them a toy. We give them a hug. We smile at them. Hold the door for them. Just because. It's just that little gift, that random act of kindness that we do. But imagine if we did it for 3 people, and those 3 people went and did it for 3 more people, and then those 9 people, is it 9 or 12, went and did it for the next 3 people, and we did that 4-fold. I'm not really good at math. They did it 4-fold. We did this down. We would have done something, a random act of kindness for 81 people. And then it goes on and it goes on. It's all about just sharing kindness. When you do this, it's something that you can do without thinking about it. This originally came from a movie that was released in 2000 about a little boy. I didn't do anything. Help. Oh, there it is. A little boy who did a social studies project. And this was his project to save the world. And he thought that it would work. But he thought he failed because the first 3 people he helped, it was not successful. But it randomly went down the line and it ended up saving people's lives. That was in the movie. But that actually could happen. When we look at children who are performing, some people may say, well, one car can't save a city. One performance, does it matter? They're missing the magic of that random act. They can't just brush it off because we don't see the ending. We just give that beginning and we hope that it carries on. When we see the smile of someone who sits and has a conversation with someone in a senior citizen's home, or when we see someone giving treats to a dog because the service dogs have come to visit, or even a performance, or just a gentle hand to sit and listen. All of these things are what makes us often vulnerable, and people fear that sometimes. So we have to take that step. We have to take that risk to do something that we fear. But if we take that risk, it can be an amazing thing to do. Sometimes we have to find that this one car can be a vessel of hope and connection. If you find your vessel, who knows what you can do? This toy car, for me, led to my choir having a concert where they asked people to bring toys as a donation. So it was a toy drive. My drama students decided to write a skit about loneliness and hope. And one of my drama students, he came to me and said, I just wrote a monologue, Miss Bailey, and I'm going to perform it at my church next week. And he brought it back to me and showed me the monologue he wrote. All of those things were the connection. Sometimes as teachers, we just have to step back and just watch the students lead the way. They're the ones that are taking the risk, and we just have to encourage those instincts they have. So this one card, this one performance, each of these things, they're that ripple effect that we see. And it's that vessel. It's finding that passion that you have. Now for me, seeing the one person that you want to help, going and reading, the one person taking the time to smile at somebody, to maybe just listen to them one day, taking the time. But once you find that vessel that you have, you'll be able to encourage others. My vessel started when I was about 12 or 13. My mother encouraged me to help out at the community theater. Little did she know that I would be committed for the rest of my life. I started standing behind a spotlight for the musical Oklahoma, and I never stopped. But I also started working with food banks and soup kitchens all the way through high school. We had our Key Club that we would do things with. I started working with the Special Olympics because I met some special, differently abled students on my school bus. And I wanted to work with them, and they invited me to go to their special games. And I went to the Special Olympics game, and I was offered the opportunity to be a hugger. Well, as some of my students will tell you, I have a button that says free hugs, free mom hugs. And I love to hug people because I want to make them feel special. That's part of my vessel, is encouraging and just making people feel loved. But I went to Special Olympics and I was like, I get to hug somebody? And when they run down the track, we have to wait for them. And as soon as they get the end of the road, we hug them. It's also a way to stop them from running because some of those kids will just run that track forever. So I started Special Olympics, and I continued working with Special Olympics for over 30 years, all the way until I got to Mongolia as an international teacher. So for me, that was just an overwhelming joy. I also worked with an organization called America Sings in the United States. And we organized non-competitive choral festivals where students from all over the United States would come and sing. And then when they weren't singing and dancing, they would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the local food bank. They would take those sandwiches and they would freeze them, and then they had them. They would last forever because at most of those festivals, we made well over 2,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We also made these bags, Ziploc bags of treats for kids. We would put pencils and stickers and notepads, and it would be for the homeless shelters and for foster kids in the local community. So everything we did was for the local community. And I worked with that organization for over 15 years, taking my students as assistants in helping me to organize. That was my passion. And it's something that I truly enjoy. Excuse me. But that's what I have a drive to do. And a lot of people just don't have that drive for service. They don't have that innate ability. And doing service has different ways. You can give money. That's an easy way to do. But when you give money, you really aren't seeing the impact. You just give the money and here we go. Raising money. When you are active in that service project, you are seeing the people that you're helping. And that's where that fear comes in. Students will ask, but what can I do? You can tell them to write a poem for someone, send a card, write a song. They could paint a picture. They could also create a dance, send a special note to someone. Anything that you think can make someone feel better. But people will say, well, does it matter? Yes, it does. And science tells us that it does matter. Because the region of the brain that reacts when we do something nice also reacts when you watch someone do something nice. It's creating serotonin, oxytocin, and it's making our heart and our blood pressure better. It also creates good moods. So if you think about it, when you do something nice for somebody, you are helping yourself. Keep going. So as you think about service doesn't require a hero. And I think sometimes that's what people fear, is when they think about going somewhere, oh, I have to finish this project. If I don't finish this project, then what's the use of me doing it? So you don't need to be the hero. You just need to be the one to start it. I know sometimes our students go to these service projects and they teach in the schools, and I think one of our students is going to talk about that. But when you do a service project, you need to make sure that you are making a difference, that you're not there just doing something over and over and over that someone else has done. You need to make a difference with those students, with the people you're working for. During COVID, we found a way to serve others quite differently. It was quite the challenge for us at the beginning. We learned eventually to teach theater, to perform online. We learned how to do dances, do theatrical performances. And I think one of the things that I enjoyed the most were the choirs that we were able to do online. This is a choir that eventually turned into over 3,000 people on a screen that was directed by a gentleman out of Utah. And it was amazing. And there's a church in Utah that actually built the back of their altar to be one big LED screen. And they invited people to participate in their church every Sunday, and they could come in and sing with the choir. So technology was amazing for us. Some teachers, we kind of didn't enjoy it as much, but it still was a way for us to connect with our students during that time. Working with one person sometimes doesn't feel like a service project, but sometimes that's the best way to connect with someone. So we can go from 3,000 people on a computer screen to one person. So again, if you read to one person, you listen to one person, you share with one person, those are also considered service. You're making someone feel good. That one toy that he gave to that one little boy, that made a difference. So when we look at this, I directed a show one time. We had our final dress rehearsal, and the students had invited their friends to come and watch, to kind of give them a little feedback. And no one showed up. And they were so disappointed. They were like, what's the point of us doing the dress rehearsal? Nobody's here. And I said, you have to do it. So they sit up on the stage and they ran the entire show. And what they didn't realize was the cleaner was in the back of the room. And she very slowly swept through the entire 90-minute performance. She cleaned the cafeteria because our stage was there. And I don't think they realized she was actually paying attention. So we finished, the students left, and as she was leaving, finally, she walked by and she said, that really touched me. One little boy and one car. He made the difference for me. So when someone asks you, what can I do? All you have to remind, you can tell them the story of the little boy who smiled for the first time in days. You can think about what your purpose is. Maybe tell someone to sign a yearbook, write a nice note. You can do that too. Maybe we think about a rookie who wants to learn the backstage, up there, back here. A techie teaches them. Or we just invite somebody out for a cup of coffee. What are we going to do that's going to make a difference in someone's life? It can make a difference in your life. It can make a difference in their life. So the one thing I want you to go away today with is think about that little 4-year-old boy who changed my world on that day when he asked me, "Can we do it again tomorrow, Mom?"